Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have another PC collection update. And this has been probably 2 or 3 months of cards. And this is for my Griffey, Thomas, Jeter collection. Kind of my main 390s players I collect. With one Ivan Rodriguez card thrown in because I've started kind of PCing him a little bit on the side. Believe me, I have not gone all in on Pudge yet, but I got a really cool card here, so I want to show it off before we go into the Thomas Griffey Jeter. But the first one here I've got is this 2000 Topps Chrome, and it is the I'll pull down here so we don't get so much camera issues. But this is the Allegiance refractor. Probably, one of, I think, the nicest refractors from the 90s. And I just love this set. I've got the Griffey. I've got the, we'll talk about that next. But here's the Pudge. And again, these are numbered out of 100. There you go. 56 of 100. Again, probably one of the nicest 2000s. And again, the Griffey in this set is still as a Mariner. So it's one of those cool 90s card or 2000 cards that show him as a Mariner. You can see how cool that refractor is. So this is really when they were still having the great looking in-depth refractors like like a Fortune 15. You remember those? How cool the man refractor. So still that cool design. And so that is a Pudge, a really nice one. So it's like, I'm starting to kind of get a few of those. But next up is some Frank Thomas cards. So next up is the 97 Fleer Team Leaders. I don't even remember this set, honestly. This is kind of like the time period when I was going to college. And I just don't really remember this 97 Fleer as much as I thought I would. Because I don't remember them being die cut like this. And so that's kind of cool. These were 1 in 20 packs in Series 1. So, a cool insert, but definitely, not the hardest, but not the easiest. See, these weren't like a 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. So it's like a 1, per box or 1 per, maybe 2 per box max. And there's the back. You can see it. So pretty cool. Pretty cool Frank Thomas. Next up is a real interesting card. So this is from 1998 Upper Deck, Tape Measure Titans. And this is the gold foil version. So they have the base set was like 1 in 20 packs or 1 in 23 packs. So like 1 per box for these Tape Measure Titans, but they weren't numbered, the regular ones. In retail, they did a special gold insert that you could get in special marked boxes. I guess they were like kind of like, like for a retailer, a specific retailer, you could get them. And they were numbered out of 2667, and they had the gold foil. And I think it's just kind of cool. I got the Frank Thomas. And I like the little tape measure on the side. And you can see, 466-foot home run versus the Orioles. Kind of like his biggest shot ever. And then there it is on the back as well. And then there's the back. Kind of an old school looking back. It looks a lot like an old Topps card. I think that's what they were going for. So Tape Measure Titan. Next up, dropping cards here. From 1999 Finest, I believe, which had a lot of different inserts and refractors. This is the Milestone refractors. I remember there's different numbered versions of these cards based on if they were hits, home runs, doubles, whatever. So this is the hits, which were numbered out of 3,000. And this is the Frank Thomas refractor. So again, it's numbered out of 3,000. There it is on the back. It is a double-sided refractor, which is awesome for kind of a cheaper Frank Thomas refractor. Just to have the double-sided is really cool. Out of 3,000. Next up is a 97 New Pinnacle Artist Proof. It's a beautiful one, and I'm probably going to get this graded because it's such a nice card. But it is the Aurora Frank Thomas. I do not have the Griffey Aurora. I have the base. But look at that card. That card is super cool. You know, it's a little hard to see it with the double sleeve, so I'm going to pull that off because I'm probably going to get this graded, so I'll take it out of the holder anyway. But maybe that'll be a little less clear. But you can just see how that Dufax technology and all that edging, or that you know, you can see, you know, all the you know, like foil mixed with that Dufax. It's just a great looking card. So this is just, these artist proofs are amazing, and they're like weren't even one per box. So you could open a whole box of these and never even hit an artist proof. And but there is the Frank Thomas Green Aurora. Love that card. Definitely want to get graded. Next up is a really, I think these cards are pretty underrated. It's the Hall Bound out of 1998 Topps Chrome. And the thing that's interesting about these is, like, in 98, these were 1 in 72 packs, or 1 every 3 boxes. So you got a regular per box, but to get a refractor, you got 1 in every 3 boxes. So pretty rough to get one of these. Believe me, I've opened boxes of these and not hit Hall Bounds in every box for sure. So Frank Thomas is a cool card, and it's not double-sided, but it's die cut, so it's still pretty cool. And 1 in 72 packs. So next up is a really rare card. And I've never owned this card. I think I have the Griffey, but this card is really tough to get in any kind of good shape. It's always got chipping issues. It's from 1998 Fuller Ultra. It's the Diamond Producers Frank Thomas. And it's one of the really nice, really cool insert sets from the 90s that people always love, but people always forget kind of how rare it is. But also, it chips so easy down here and in the black. It's just a really tough card to get in PSA 10. And, you know, just as a kind of like PSA for someone who collects the 90s like this, people are so slave to that PSA 10 grade that certain sets like these that won't hardly ever grade a PSA 10, people just don't collect them because they're like, well, if I can't get a PSA 10, I don't want the set. And I just think the set is so cool looking and unique looking and so hard to get, 1 in 288, that I would want the cards even if it was got a chipping on it and it may not grade but a 7. But a lot of collectors in this time, you know, collecting the 90s, will say, well, again, they just want 10s. And I think this is a great example of a set that, you know, if it wasn't so hard to grade, maybe it'd be more popular and more expensive. But I'm kind of glad it's not. And there's the back. But anyway, a pretty rare card, and a lot of fun to finally get that card because, you know, you don't see them very often. My last Frank Thomas card is the aforementioned hint I had around the Topps Chrome Allegiance, and so I finally have the Frank Thomas. So I've got the Griffey, and now I've got the Frank Thomas. So again, it's a PSA 9. It's a really nice card. So this is definitely one of those, you know, it's not 2 of 100. It's kind of cool. You know, it'd be better if it was 1 or 100, but, or his, you know, 35. But, you know, I just think it's just a great looking card. And, you know, I do have, again, the Griffey. And when you start stacking, you know, the Allegiant cards together, they are pretty impressive. I just think it's one of those sets. They're not super duper cheap, but they're not also as expensive as some of the like man refractors and things like that. So it's kind of a good set if you want a beautiful looking early, you know, 2000s, late, you know, it's kind of like, it's basically a 90s card still. If I was going to just say anything, it's still got the 90s aesthetic, and it's not as expensive, and it's still low numbered. So cool card. Love that card. All right, moving on to Jeter. So this is not from the 90s. This is from 2004 Fleer, but it is a cool card. It's out of platinum. It is a Platinum Portraits patch. So I picked this up at the Albany Card Show. I just love that patch. It's such a cool looking card. So, you know, just nice to get, you know, early patches that you know are from Game Used. And the other Jeter I got was the non-shiny version of this card from 2000 Stadium Club. It is a luminous. So these are the, the 3x3. You have to put 3 together. But it's a Gem Mint 10, so it's a hard to get card just because of the die cut. So not super expensive, but kind of fun to pull that or to grab that. Now, next is some Griffeys. And there's a pretty eclectic mix here. So I'm going to start with this really interesting die cut card. It's from 1998 Studio, and it is the freeze frame. This card is just wacky. It's got all the die cuts here, it's die cut. So tons of die cuts. So if you like die cuts, this is the card for you. It's got foil on it, and they're numbered out of 4,500. And you can see how rough some of those die cuts are when they made them, when they punched them out. So I don't know if you could, take one of those, like a pencil or something and smooth it out a little bit. I mean, if that's altering, if that makes, that makes me an alter, like to kind of smooth out that rough cut. I don't know. Probably won't ever get this card graded. It's just not expensive enough. But I'm sure a 10 is hard. And it is numbered. So it's just a cool card. It's a cheaper Griffey card. But it's got a lot going for it. Die cuts, numbered. So it's still a really cool card. Next up is, again, some Pacific cards. And Pacific, doesn't have a ton of fan base here, in the hobby in general. This is 98 Pacific. And this is from, I think it's from either Crown or I think Base Pacific. And it's, it's kind of like the home run total card. And they do these kind of cool looking inserts where they put the player's total that year for home runs, kind of in embossed gold. And it's a really nice looking card. I think they're like a 1 per box. So I think, you obviously have, McGuire and Sosa and all these guys hitting a lot of home runs. So cool card. And I love that foil. So, and next up is a parallel from 1990. This is 99 Pacific Paramount. And it's the blue parallel. And I'm not sure. I think they're not numbered. So I think they're like 1 per box type parallels. So maybe, not too expensive, but I think they've got, I think the card design is very nice. So there you go. All right, moving into some more Upper Deck related products here. This next product, I've got both the regular and a parallel version of it, which is kind of, Upper Deck they weren't the parallel kings for sure. This is from 1996, which is, again, a little early in the insert game, and this is Power Zone. And so this was like, I forget, maybe like a 10 or 15 card set. But here's the base cards. So they were die cut, and they kind of had, they were all Griffey related. They had different little headers up here. So this is like a base version of the card. You see the back. And they also did a gold parallel version of the set that was numbered out of 250. So here's a gold, and again, it's a different card, but from the set, but still kind of shows you that gold. And then they are numbered on the back right there out of 250. So that's a pretty low number for Upper Deck out of 1996. So that's a pretty cool card. And again, you can see the two cards together, the silver and the gold. We'll go to my left, and my right is the base silver. And it's a nice, Upper Deck did a lot of foiling. So etched foil and foiling was their thing, and die cut. So this is kind of like their technology that was, used in a lot of high-end insert sets all together. So it's a cool card. Not worth a ton, but I think it's one of those cards it's hard to find a high grade because of all the die cuts. Next up is a really, really fun card for me because I showed you in one of my ComC video the actual redemption card to be able to pull this card. So I showed you the redemption card was really tough. And this is a Stadium Club card. And this is the actual Extreme Winners card from 96. And it is just I call it a kitchen sink card. But it's also got some really interesting features, and we'll talk about it. But here's the Extreme Winners Griffey Gold card. And it is pretty breathtaking. It's just a really beautiful card. Now, it's got a lot of things going on. It's got a frame right here. It's got this epoxy coating that you can kind of see here, and it's made out of metal on the back. So it's basically a metal card, the metal border, and this epoxy, almost glass-like surface on top of the refractor, right? So just a lot of technologies all going into this card. But the thing that makes this card like super duper interesting, and I'll just take a base card here to show you is, and I didn't realize it because I've never owned this card before. I've had always the silver, but not the gold. This card is bigger than a base card. So I kind of overlaid a Greg Swindle card here, but you can see that border. So they took the base card and put a border on it. They didn't cut the card down to account for the border. So there you go. This card is bigger, so it doesn't fit into a top loader. It doesn't fit into a one touch that I have. And so I have it in this kind of sleeve here. And I'll probably just get it graded. That way I can keep it in a holder that isn't just a soft sleeve. Who knows what's going to grade. You know, I don't know if like there's wear here or I'll have to go through it, but you know, this card is oversized, but such a cool card. It is a nice card. So I want to get it slabbed, by either PSA or SGC. I don't think it's going to be high grade just because it's got a little wear. I probably see it right here on that corner. I just don't know how they're going to ding that. So it's like a 7 or 8 if I was going to just guess. So, but it's a really amazing looking card. And here's the back. Yeah, very similar in some of the like the 97 or 99 Stars and Steel cards, the domed hull cards. So that makes me love it even more. So this is probably one of my favorite Griffey cards I picked up in a long time. Just a beautiful card, and still, like, you can get these below $200, which I think for Griffey cards is pretty cool, pretty special, honestly, for a card that cool, and it's pretty rare. Next up is like the third card I've owned. Like, this is my third copy of this card, but I love the card so much I just can't help but get more. Soul of the Game Griffey in a SGC 9.5. Just a beautiful design. Love the design. In fact, it's one of my only basketball cards I'm keeping on my PC is the Jordan version. So there's my Jordan. There's the Griffey. I love the two cards. Kind of side by side. I like the fact they switched up the foiling between the two sets so they don't look exactly the same. So still a little unique there. But there is the Griffey. Soul of the Game, SGC 9.5. There is the back. And I opened a box of retail premium because it's from Skybox Premium. And I pulled the Cal Ripken Soul of the Game in that box. So I have opened a little bit of this product, and I did pull a Cal Ripken Soul of the Game, which I still have raw sitting around. Probably needs to get graded just to see if it might 10, because that's a cool card. Next up is just it's not super rare. It's numbered out 2,500, so I guess a little rarer than most of these cards. It's from 1998 Donruss. It's the Elite base card, and it's numbered out of 2,500, but it's a PSA 10. So I have this like in a PSA 8, and so I decided to upgrade. So it wasn't overly expensive, so it was good just to get a 10, not 10 chaser. But, I have an 8. This wasn't too expensive, so I upgraded. It is interesting how it is, out of 2,500, because you remember, Elite started out at 10,000, then 5,000, and now we're at 2,598. So, they started to get more and more rare. And last but not least is a card for my my Griffey refractor set. This came up pretty cheap because I think it's just because it's Beckett graded. It's a 9, but it's just the base refractor out of 98 Bowman Chrome. The case has a nice big scratch on it right there. You can see it. So maybe I can buff that out, but if not, oh well. I still, collect the card, and these cards sometimes just go nuts on eBay. Sometimes they sell reasonably, and sometimes people get into bidding war over these refractors from the 90s Griffey. So glad to check another one off on my check sheet. Honestly, my favorite, the Soul of the Game card is such a cool card. But in general, this card is probably the coolest card I got this week in Griffey. And, by far the coolest, Frank Thomas card I picked up was the Allegiance Refractor. So a really fun mail day and a lot of shiny and a lot of cool stuff from the 90s. Some esoteric kind of weird stuff as well. So that's kind of how I like to collect. Let me know what your favorite cards are. It's a really fun mail day and kind of a PC update because this is over the course of a couple months. So just love growing the collection. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time in Cards and Comics. Bye.